Nespelem people. The Nespelem people belong to one of 12 aboriginal Confederated Tribes of the Colville Indian Reservation in eastern Washington. They lived primarily near the banks of the Nespelem River, an upper Columbia River tributary, in an area now known as Nespelem, Washington, located on the Colville Indian Reservation. Alternate spellings include Nespelem or Nespilim. Ethnography. The Nespelim are considered interior Salish, a designation that also includes the Okanagan, Sinixt Wenatchee, Sanpoil, Spokan, Kalispel, Pend Boreals, Coeur d'Alene, and Flathead peoples. Russ classifies Nespelim as one of the Okanagan tribes, while Winans classifies them as part of the Sanpoil. In 1905, the United States Indian Office counted 41 Nespelim. In 1910, the census counted 46. In 1913, after a survey, the Office of Indian Affairs counted 43. Contact with European settlers. British colonialist and explorer David Thompson, on behalf of the Northwest Company in 1811, described several of the Native American tribes that he encountered while traveling along the upper Columbia River in present-day Canada and Washington state, thence along a tributary of the same river, the Sanpoil River, and continuing in places along the Pacific. In the upper Columbia he mentions the Nespelim Sick, being the Nespelem tribe, who warmly welcomed him and his party. As his interpreters, he made use of 2 Sanpoil scouts who spoke a dialect of the Salishan tongue. Customs and diet. Thompson mentions in his journal that the Nespelim wore shells as dress ornaments and made their clothing from buffalo robes and from skins of muskrat and black-tailed deer. When they could be found otherwise, they were scantily dressed. Their women painted their faces and wore shells in their hair. A few donned copper ornaments. Their neighbors, the Simpoil Sick Indians, Sanpoil, made houses of huts constructed with slight poles overlaid with mats of slight rushes. Such houses may have been a reflection of their own. Whenever sending off a party, members of the tribe, men, women, and children would come together, and after being entreated by their chief to dance before the party, they would commence a solemn dance for several minutes by throwing their arms into the air and clapping them in the air before they lowered them. This dance was accompanied by a song chanted in measured cadence, the dance being repeated at 3 different intervals, and concluding with a blessing made by the chief. The Nespelim, like other Native American tribes in the Northwest, subsisted on roasted and dried salmon, which they often caught by the construction of a weir along the river, the boiled roots of bitterroot Luisia spp, the white root and Ectuae estuae sick root Helianthus tuberosus, as well as arrowwood berries. They supplemented their diet with an occasional marmot or other game animals. Nespelim villages and tribes. Hamisahan, a summer settlement of the Sispilok on the north bank of Columbia River, about a half-mile above the mouth of Nespelem River. Mesmezelim, home of the Smesmezelim Kua, approximately a mile and a half above Skik. Nekakchiptin, home of the Snekakchiptamuk, at the site of the present Condon's Ferry on the north side of the river. And Nespilim, home of the Essenspilok, on the lower Nespelem from the falls to the mouth of the river. Salcuahuil, home of the Wallachasm, across the river from the present town of Barry. Skik, about a mile above Salcuahuil on the same side of the river. Iskathlanchin, fishing grounds of the Salcuahuil across the river from the mouth of the Grand Coulee.